Hi, it's Lucy here at Spitfire Audio, and today I'm going to be running through a bit of a guide to all things instruments and libraries, because this week is Spitfire Audio's Black Friday sale, and it's site-wide, meaning everything is going to be discounted. So I am going to be taking you through how to figure out which instruments are right for you. Black Friday is basically the perfect time to build out your instrument toolkit because everything's on sale. But how do you know what to pick that's going to best exemplify your sound and best fit your style as a composer? So in short, this video is to provide you with some helpful tips and tricks for choosing the right Spitfire Audio tools for your project. Let's dive in. So we're not going to be just talking about specs today, as important as they are. We're going to be discussing and looking at what kind of storyteller each of these libraries lets you be and what kind of sound they'll give your work. Because as composers, as we know, story always comes first, and your virtual instruments and your toolkit is a massive part of that. So first of all, I want to show you a classic and actually my favorite orchestral library. And this is the iconic BBC SO, BBC Symphony Orchestra, it's like a real legacy instrument. And it's really known for the crispness of its recording and its clarity. And you have three different kind of levels to this. There's BBC SO Discover, Core, and Pro. It's perfect if you're looking for that huge orchestral, very classic concert orchestral sound that works in more classic film scoring. So let's have a listen. So I've got this one very short composition that I'm going to use to demonstrate the particularities of each orchestral kit. So here's BBC SO. So as you can hear, classic, very warm, crisp, clear. I love it. It's beautiful. It's like my kind of underneath layer to a lot of the orchestral stuff I do. And then I'll actually layer it with another Spitfire orchestral library, particularly with strings, to give it character. So I might use this and then put a tiny bit of chamber strings violin in the mix, just to kind of color it in that kind of more contemporary, close, chambery feel. I've also got most of my parts going through the Air Studios reverb on the hall setting on Ascend here. I think it pairs so nicely. It's like the realest sounding orchestral reverb, and it works beautifully. So the string sounds in this are just spot on. Here's a bit of the violin. And that's just on long, and then it's got these beautiful short articulations. Every single string articulation you can think of, it's got it. It's got these beautiful long sulponts that I love. I want to make a special mention to the harp in BBC SO because I think it is just amazing. It's so clear but so warm. Exquisite. I love it. It's my go-to harp. And I've used that as this little arpeggiated figure here in this little piece I've written. And the woodwinds are similarly clear and crisp, and they just really sing out here. I love this bassoon, and I have this playing a little kind of counter melody line. I just think it's so nice. It's very characterful, and yet it manages to just be this really all-rounder, very neutral library. So on the one hand, if you're a composer that's looking for that really classic, filmic, cinematic sound, that sort of John Williams-y, very, very orchestral sound, I recommend this. On the other hand, if that's not the heart of your style as a composer, but you're looking for just a real workhorse backbone library, this is the one for me. And you can pick up the free version of BBC SO Discover, if you sign up to Spitfire's mailing list, which is cool. So go ahead and do that. Moving on to Contemporary Drama Toolkit, which is a real classic in the kind of like contemporary media scoring world. I would say this is the workhorse of modern media scoring. And to kind of demonstrate the essence of this library, I'm going to play the same composition with Contemporary Drama Toolkit. For me, it's just like vibes. It's just pure vibes. And it kind of is what it says on the tin. It's contemporary, it's dramatic, and it's a toolkit. it's all of those things. So let's have a look around. First off, these are the banks that you have. There's a lot. It's so comprehensive. You have these kind of like combi sounds, which are these kind of like combined process sounds, and yet they're all quite organic. They have kind of a foot in the like processed contemporary sound aesthetic, whilst also managing to retain a sort of like natural organicness, which I really like, and I think is really kind of like respectable sound-wise, just how natural this whole thing sounds. Particularly the granular strings patch, which just has this really kind of like soft, beautiful attack. I really love it. That's the sound I led with in this composition. So we also have these really, really lovely electric violin and electric cello patches. It's just really soft and stunning. There's basically just so many ways of creating beautiful sound beds and kind of like textural, ambient, orchestral noise in CDT. So I think if that's your bag, if that's your like aesthetic, you like creating atmosphere and vibe through texture and through kind of atmosphere and like layering rather than like traditional orchestration, then I think CDT is for you. So that was for my contemporary media composers. Next up, we have, just the love of my life, Albion Solstice, which I know I said BBC SO was my favorite, but I think maybe Albion Solstice is. It's just a little bit less general. This is really a character orchestra, just like the other Albions, which you might be familiar with. And I would really recommend you go check them out, because Albion Solstice is just one of a whole family of beautiful, really distinct, individual sounding orchestras. And there really is something for everyone. The reason I picked Solstice is because this is my soulmate. This orchestra is just like my sound, and I really love it, and I've become very familiar with it. Albion and the Albion range is really just a treasure trove of genre and style specific orchestras. I think they're really great for game scoring just because of how many different genre worlds they touch on. And they go all the way from the very delicate and intimate to ginormous cinematic orchestras. I would really recommend starting with Albion Orchestral Selects if you're looking to kind of intro yourself to the Albion sound, as it's got some of the best basics to get you started. So here's the same short composition in Albion Solstice. One of the kind of like main elements in this that you can probably hear is this like vocal motor. And I would love to talk a bit about the vocal patches in Solstice, because as a singer, I love them. I often actually layer my vocals with them. I love how that sounds. They have a really kind of sweet, soft timbre, and you'll find them in the hosts. I love the naming in Solstice as well. They have these like fantastic names for each of the banks. We have like the blackguards, and we have the callers, elders, generator trio, gut circle, and then the hosts is the choral one. And so it's just got like a whole load of really, really nice vocal articulations and vowel sounds. And my personal favorite is the wavering. Because the vocalists, you can hear them like drifting slightly from the home pitch, and you can even hear them breathing. And I really love it. If I don't have like multiple singers at my fingertips and I want a kind of like multi-timbral vocal layer, I'll just use this because it sounds so real. And I love it, especially for kind of like long held notes and layers under stuff. Another favorite patch of mine in Solstice is the gut bank. I don't want to call it folk-esque or folky because I think it's so much more than that. It works amazingly well for folk, and it's also just amazing for character sounds of any genre, you know, whatever kind of composer you are. If you're looking for something a little bit different and a little bit offbeat, I really recommend Solstice. So, Solstice for my folksy weirdos. And yeah, also contemporary horror scorers, I should mention. It's really, really good for horror. And I've used it a few different times in kind of like horror thriller context, and it has worked really well. So finally, in orchestra land, I want to talk about Impressionism because I see it as the all-rounder and I see it as a tool for everyone. It really is like the ideas tool. You know, if you're fleshing stuff out and you're just kind of like starting to sketch your ideas, Impressionism is my go-to. It's so kind of like, it's kind of like watercolor painting for music. And yeah, there's, you know, it's think like very like soft attacks, pastel colors. And I've just found it to be such an interesting like compositional tool when I'm writing, especially if I'm trying to figure out nice harmony and I'm working out like voicings and string parts and stuff. I'll use some of the string sounds in Impressionism just to feel things out before I fully commit to my string articulations, if I kind of don't know yet. So here's the same tune with Impressionism. It's just so pretty. It just sounds so nice. I mean, I don't always just use it for sketching as well. Often this is like my, you know, there's sounds in this that I want in stuff beyond kind of ideation and beyond initial stages. Particularly a lot of the really beautiful string and woodwind trill sounds they've just got like a really beautiful shape out the box, and I love using them. If you're not familiar with Impressionism, what it gives you is basically an initial like attack sound, then a sustained sound, and then a decay sound. So in each patch, there's like 3 sound elements. And you have the ability to mix these to your choosing. So you have these faders here, like part 1, 2, and 3. Get the attack, sustain, and decay. And you can turn off or on different parts. So if I turn off 2 and 3 here, you just get that initial one. It's pretty cool. And because the naming in Impressionism, they're all kind of like creatively named rather than descriptively named, it kind of lets you like compose blind. And it's literally like having a box of paints where you don't know like what the colors are. You're kind of just like going in. And it makes you feel honestly so creative. And it ties into something I've talked about a little bit in previous videos, which is deliberately placing creative limitations on yourself to kind of like get more out of yourself. And Impressionism is a great way of doing that because you don't have, like, I don't know what these sounds are. I still can't really remember. I should. I've used it a lot now. And I still, you know, when I click, okay, that's like a string, then a clarinet, then a bell. Beautiful. But I kind of like, I can't go in like being like, I want a bassoon. I just have to kind of feel my way through it. And that has led to some really, really nice kind of unexpected happy accidents before. It also has Spitfires played in set mode. What this lets you do, if you know your key and you're in one key, then anything you play is going to sound consonant and beautiful within this key. You can turn on out of scale mode, which lets you play kind of like dissonant notes out of your scale. And you have like all the modes. You have everything. So you can be really specific. And, you know, if you keyboard mash in C minor, it creates something in C minor, which is really useful for when you're sketching. So Impressionism, something for everyone. Beautiful. Or if your style is a more impressionistic, romantic, kind of soft filmic vibe, then this is for you. So let's talk about strings and string-specific libraries. I probably couldn't do this without talking about chamber strings, which is just like the goat of string libraries. And it is just such an utterly real and professional string sound. I use it a lot. I mentioned earlier I like to layer strings, and this is something I use a lot for layering in my strings, for adding character and fullness. And I feel like you can hear every detail of like the bow in chamber strings. And so when I want that in a part, I'll use chamber strings to bring it out. Here's just like a very short demo. I'm using a lot of like spiccato and pizzicato here, which I love in chamber strings. This is the ensemble mode, which is everything. You have sectionals and then ensemble. You have individual articulations, extended techniques, and also performance techniques, which is super handy. I'm using an ensemble patch here on the spiccato mode. I like to use this, especially when I'm like sketching or I know I'm going to record strings later and it's kind of pre-orchestration. I'll use the ensemble patches just to kind of like lay things out. So kind of on the other side of the string continuum, we have Ólafur Arnalds Cells, which is the latest, newest collaboration with Ólafur Arnalds from Spitfire. And I've done what I did before. Here's the same thing played with cells. Sounds incredibly different because this is incredibly different. This is like, cells is just a gorgeous tool for texture and harmonic variation. So you have this really, really beautiful interface. I absolutely love the cells GUI. And what you get is essentially all these different options for intervals that generate based on the notes you're playing. And similar to Impressionism, we have set and played mode. So I've got it in D minor here. So if I just play one note on scatter, I get all these really beautiful like variations and textures coming through. And it's just wonderful. I also really like living. So Cells also has a bunch of just beautiful like synth emulations and these kind of sonic warps, which are various modulations of that. You have a Juno 60, a Korg PS3100, and a C15 synth here, all with the same kind of like cells tech. So two very different string sounds. And yeah, I wonder what was calling out to you more as I was playing through them. That's such a great way to kind of know what sound is your sound. It's just that gut feeling of what calls out to you the most, like what makes you feel the most excited. What would you like to write with the most? For me here, it's kind of both of them. I love them. I love using them together, but maybe one was kind of more you. Or yeah, maybe you're a both kind of person as well. Okay, on to percussion. And similarly, I have two very, very different contrasting libraries, and both total favorites again. The first one I want to talk about is actually the BBC Radiophonic Workshop library. And this is a treasure trove of cool percussive sounds and found sounds, and I just love it. I've used it a lot actually in my work. It's got such an exciting history and backstory, and yeah, the way these sounds were crafted is just, so fascinating. Here's a few of the sounds, and then I'm going to take you through a few of the percussive patches and show you how I actually like to affect them. One of my favorite patches on this is the drunk percussion one. There's just so many good sounds in there. For me, it's such like a playful, explorative library. So there's a lot of tonal sounds in this and a lot of atonal, kind of unpitched percussive sounds. It's in the lovely solar interface as well, which I love. And I find it very kind of like intuitive for like hunting for sounds, especially because it has this kind of like this double synth interface here and these kind of like two oscillator mixer, meaning you can kind of pick and choose from these menus here and then experiment with blending stuff together, which I found to be really kind of fruitful in the past. On the other side of things, we have the iconic Hans Zimmer Percussion library, which is just such a go-to for like huge cinematic percussion. There really is like a massive variety to choose from, and it's obviously just perfect for cinematic scores, given that it was produced by Hans Zimmer himself and recorded at Air. So here is what it looks like. And you have this kind of like percussion menu to pick from. And then you can map stuff onto your keyboard or your launchpad or MIDI controller. It's just huge. And, we have these like different mic options. We've got this room, close, and spot mic. You also have these boom and crack faders here, which are really unique ways that you can modulate the sound. So it really lets you fine-tune the sound within the interface, which I really like. Hans Zimmer Perc for my big cinematic score people, and then Radiophonic Workshop for my quirky found sound beat makers. So let's talk about keys. So the Originals range has got a lot of gorgeous piano sounds. And I'm going to start with my favorite, which is the inimitable cinematic soft piano, which I love. It's gorgeous. Here's a little tiny demo. I love the subtle, clicky kind of like. It's exactly what you want from a kind of like very soft, prepared piano sound, I guess. It's very much in the realm of like Nils Fromm, Tully Gonzalez. I love it. But it's also just a great all-rounder for media scoring. Here's the interface. We have a few different piano sounds and then 3 mics, which you can play with. I love the close mic and really turning that up. But, you can also kind of change and adapt and personalize the hammer sounds. You can, if you really want to hear it. So within Originals, there's just so many to choose from. And honestly, they're all at just insane prices and even more so with the sale. So here is Firewood piano. And there really is an Originals keys instrument for every different kind of project. Whether you're a jazz pianist or you're looking for a more kind of melancholic sound, or even something more textural that you're using within a broader composition, I think cinematic soft piano works really well for that. Then we have the new Château Piano, which is the iconic piano used by the likes of Elton John, the Bee Gees, and David Bowie. So it has naturally just this timeless sound, which is synonymous with these pop icons and definitely many of the kind of like big eras in pop music. And it's really perfect if you want the keys to shine out with a character of their own. It's in the gorgeous ensemble plugin, and there is a whole bunch of different sounds to pick from. The natural grand piano is the most kind of ubiquitous, familiar sounding, in my opinion. And then you have all these really nice kind of different affected patches. I really like this lush dreamlike patch. So nice. It's so soft. It's very different from cinematic soft piano from Originals, but it has that similar kind of like, not many high ends, just very like low mid, cozy sound to it. So There really is a piano for everyone, for every different kind of project and every different genre, but also every different kind of pianist. If you're someone that composes mainly piano-based scores and you really want like a character sound, then you can find that. If you're someone that composes more kind of like piano-only scores and pieces and you want a real like character sound, you can definitely find that in originals or with Château Piano. And these pianos also make fantastic instruments for kind of contemporary pop production and music production and songwriting in general. And I use them extensively in that context, often in lieu of a real piano, just because the quality of recordings is so consistent and good that they make mixing and production really easy. So we've done a whistle-stop tour through a few of my selects and highlights in orchestras, strings, percussion, and pianos. And I hope this has been a really helpful guide to the variety that's out there in Spitfire Audio's instruments. And whether you're a composer that's looking out to flesh out your library and your toolkit, or you're starting out and you're just discovering your sound, it really is the best time to do it. There's a site-wide sale on everything, as I mentioned, so you can save on all the libraries that I mentioned here and every other library, literally every other library, in the Black Friday sale starting this week. And if you're email subscribed to Spitfire Audio, you get an extra 20% off on top of sale prices, which is nuts. So definitely become an email subscriber if you're not already. And also all the links that I've mentioned today will be in the video description for you. So go ahead to the Spitfire website, take a look around, because there is nothing better than starting the new year with some new sounds. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.